all of the students, Merry Christmas, and all of you all a very Merry Christmas. Look, I just found out some information a few minutes ago. We want to pass along to you. And if you're listening to the show live, or if maybe you're tuned in on Saturday morning when we play the show back, this could be some useful information to you as well. The Food Pantry of Roxborough will be opening up Saturday morning at 10 a.m. They have a wide array of different things, but again, they will open up at 10 a.m. Saturday morning. That will be December the 20th. The Food Pantry of Roxborough is located on Franklin Street. Franklin Street is just off of Main Circle at one end and Hill Street at the other. But again, the Food Pantry, they've got like family, packets more or less, and they've got a lot on hand. So if you can, make your way to the Food Pantry on Saturday morning, as they will open at 10 o'clock. Here we go, Mr. Carl Cantalupi.
Yes, sir.
You have done some research on a question I asked you a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, yeah, before we need to give the number out.
That's right. Yes, we do.
We have not assumed room temperature.
We
today.
are live in the studio today. Our number 336-599-0266. That's 599-0266. If you got a question for the Gardeners Corner program, feel free to give us a call. But a couple of weeks ago, I asked Carl, he had brought in a poinsettia. It was a beautiful plant. And I had asked him, with the poinsettia being a tropical plant,
Right.
how did it become more or less the plant of Christmas, so to speak?
Right, and actually, I found out some information. This was actually in the Philadelphia Inquirer, a newspaper. This was written by Virginia Smith, who was in Philadelphia Inquirer staff writer, and this was posted on December 13th of this year. And the article that I'm quoting starts off like this. Philadelphia and the poinsettia go back almost 200 years, but the relationship has never been exclusive. It involves a raft of iconic names and institutions in this city's lengthy horticultural history: Bartram's Garden, Colonel Robert Carr, Robert Buisse Sr., J. Liddon Pennock Jr., and the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society. As early as the 14th century, the beautiful native Central American plant we know as poinsettia was called a tongue-twisting, I've got to get this right, Quitlaxochitle by the Aztecs. The showy red flowers, technically modified leaves or bracts, were also used to make a reddish-purple dye. The plant's milky sap was said to reduce fever. In the 16th and 17th centuries, these winter-blooming perennials in the euphorbia or spurge plant family were commonly used in Christmas rituals in Mexico, which is where, in 1828, they caught the eye of Joel Roberts Poinsett, for whom they would later be known. A prominent South Carolina politician with a botanical bent, Poinsett was the first U.S. minister to newly independent Mexico. He began collecting cuttings and sending them to friends, including those at Bartram's Garden, the famous commercial nursery founded by John Bartram in 1708 on the banks of the Schuylkill River. By then, the business had been passed down to Anne Bartram Carr, John's granddaughter, and her husband, Colonel Robert Carr, who were largely focused on international trade in native North American plants. Carr introduced the poinsettia into commerce on June 6, 1829, at an exhibition of fruits, flowers, and plants. The first public flower show of the fledgling Pennsylvania Horticulture Society, it was held before hundreds of people at a now long-gone Masonic Hall on Chestnut Street, and it was remarked upon in windy detail in the Philadelphia National Gazette. Among the foremost candidates for admiration, the scribe scribbled, were the magnolias, pelargoniums, which are geraniums, peonies from China, Arabian coffee tree, West Indian sugarcane, and by way of Bartram's, the new euphorbia, or poinsettia. People had never seen anything like it. It attracted a lot of attention, said Janet Evans, senior manager of the Pennsylvania Horticulture Society's McLean Library, who coordinated the current exhibit. 5 years later, Robert Buse Sr., a Scottish-born nurseryman and longtime Pennsylvania Horticultural Society officer and exhibitor, took the plant to Europe, where its botanical name became Euphorbia pulcherrima. Translation from the Latin means the most beautiful euphorbia. The poinsettia may have debuted in United States as a novelty, but it slowly became more available. In 1860, Thomas Meehan, a British-born plantsman who ran a nursery in Germantown, Pennsylvania, wrote in his Gardener's Monthly, "The poinsettia sells quite well." Buyers, Evans says, were regular middle-class gardeners who placed plants on their windowsill or in greenhouses if they had them. From 1900 through the 1990s, poinsettias basically went viral, thanks to the Ecke family of Encinitas, California, whose secret grafting technique produced lush, compact plants, most unlike the weedy Mexican variety that grew 10 to 15 feet tall. The Eckes bred fantastic colors, leaf shapes, and sizes, and they marketed like mad, supplying free plants to popular TV shows and the women's magazines whose poinsettia-filled photo shoots reinforced its reputation as the Christmas plant. J. Liddon Pennock Jr., the Philadelphia Society florist known as Mr. Flower Show, did his part too. From 1971 to 1973, he filled Richard M. Nixon era White House at Christmas time with Ecke poinsettias. In the 1990s, the poinsettia story took a dramatic turn. Around 1996, university researchers independently replicated and published what Evans calls the secret sauce. The Eckes closely held an unpatented grafting method which had revolutionized the poinsettia trade and given them a near monopoly. Then in 2012, Paul Ecke III sold to the Dutch-based Agribio Group, one of the world's largest plant breeders, producers, and distributors. The Ecke name remains on the poinsettias, which still account for 70% of the domestic market share and half of the international. But the three-generation, century-old American family business is no more. We pause for National Poinsettia Day, created in 2002 in honor of Poinsett, who died on this day in 1851. Note, however, that while U.S. fans of the Christmas plant may celebrate his legacy, Mexicans apparently do not. Chronica Horticultura, the journal of the International Society for Horticultural Science, reported in a 2011 paper that Mexicans coined their own word to memorialize him, and it wasn't poinsettia. They used poinsettissimo, which means arrogance and high-handedness. And apparently, from the information that I was able to read about Joel Roberts Poinsett, he liked to meddle in the affairs of Mexicans. So they really don't like him or his name down in Mexico.
Wow. That's something, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Carl, appreciate you doing that research for us.
Yeah. It was kind of interesting. Mm-hmm.
If you do have a poinsettia, Carl has some tips that he can give you about how to care for them. But we'll get a word on right now for one of our fine supporting sponsors. Let's take a trip out to T.G. Brooks Company and get the top 10 gift list from Bill and Roy. That is available at T.G. Brooks Company.
And now we're here at that special time of the year when we have the opportunity to go out to T.G. Brooks Company in Timberlake. And Roy Brooks and Bill Brooks always have the top 10 gift suggestions to put under the tree. So here we go with the 2014 top 10 gift suggestions. Bill and Roy Brooks.
Number 10 this year, David, on our top 10 for Christmas is always a favorite, the Radio Flyer wagons and tricycles, in stock now.
Number 9 is an all-time favorite and simple. It's the Case knives.
Number 8, always a kid's favorite, snow sleds. Right here, we've got the plastic and the metal ones in stock.
Number 7 is the Ranger insulated boots.
Number 6, cast iron cookware for all your cooking and baking needs during the Christmas season.
Number 5, bulk hardwood mulch. Make the house look beautiful for Christmas.
Number 4, we have in stock now the portable infrared Comfort Glow electric heaters. A great heater for any space you need heat in.
Number 3, an all-time favorite, Hoop cheese. By the hoop or by the pound.
Number 2, we have a good selection of gas cooking and heating appliances for all the cold weather needs you may encounter.
And number 1 on our list, as always, is the famous country hams. Come and get one.
Thank you so much. The top 10 from T.G. Brooks Company, wishing you and your family the very best Christmas season ever. 2014 Top 10 from T.G. Brooks Company.
Yeah, some mighty nice gifts available out at T.G. Brooks Company, from those case knives to the ribeyes to the wagons and those country hams. Head on out and see them right there at T.G. Brooks Company in Timberlake, in business since 1936. Carl, I know they had said that there was a pretty good chance of rain in the area for tomorrow, Saturday. I don't think the rain chances are as great now as they had said a few days ago, but I know they're saying in some parts of the state it could be a little bit of wintry mix and things, and I don't think we will have a white Christmas, but something that may not be a bad idea to touch base on right now. If the folks do not have any, ice melt or anything on hand, it would be a good opportunity for them to go ahead and get some on hand in case we do have, some freezing rain or snow or ice or something like that.
That's right.
Kind of would be prepared.
Before I start, again, we are live today. So give us a call at 599-0266, and if you have any gardening questions, we'll be happy to answer them for you.
Oh, yes. By the way, please call if you have a question.
So we're approaching now. You never know what the weather's going to do. The temperature can plunge. We can get freezing rain at any time. Then we have icy streets and sidewalks that'll make walking and driving hazardous. And using ice melting products can help keep us safe. However, these products vary in their ice melting abilities and their safety to nearby plants as well. There are about 5 main materials that are used as chemical deicers: calcium chloride, sodium chloride, potassium chloride, urea, and calcium magnesium acetate. First, calcium chloride is the traditional ice melting product. Though it'll melt ice to about 25 degrees Fahrenheit, it will form slippery, slimy surfaces on concrete and other hard surfaces. Plants are not likely to be harmed unless excessive amounts are used. Rock salt is sodium chloride and is the least expensive material available. It's effective to approximately 12 degrees Fahrenheit, but it can damage soils, plants, and metals. Potassium chloride can also cause serious plant injury when washed or splashed on the foliage. Both calcium chloride and potassium chloride can damage roots of plants as well. Urea is a fertilizer, nitrogen fertilizer, that is sometimes used to melt ice. Though it's only about 10% as corrosive as sodium chloride, it can contaminate ground and surface water with nitrates. Urea is effective down to about 21 degrees Fahrenheit. Calcium magnesium acetate, otherwise known as CMA, is a newer product. It's made from dolomitic limestone and acetic acid, which is the principal compound of vinegar. CMA works differently than the other materials in that it doesn't form a brine-like salt, but rather helps prevent snow particles from sticking to each other on the road surface. It has little effect on plant growth or concrete surfaces, and if you go below 20 degrees, the performance of it decreases. Limited use of any of these products should cause little injury. Problems accumulate when they're used excessively and there is not adequate rainfall to wash or leach the material from the area. Since limited use is recommended, it's best to remove the ice and snow by hand when possible. When they are applied, practice moderation. We are often prone to over applying just to make sure the ice and snow melts. So if you take off a lot of the ice and snow by hand and then use the salt, you won't have to use as much. Keep this in mind because these products, most of them can damage concrete surfaces as well as the plants and grass growing along the walks and the driveways. These problems are normally latent and will not show up until spring or summer, so the plant is not going to show salt damage until next year if you over-apply them. And salts can injure plants in several ways. The chloride ion is considered the most toxic element of de-icing salts, causing much of the direct plant tissue damage. When salt sprays form from puddles onto plants as cars drive by, it may scorch the leaves or kill buds and twig tips on deciduous plants, especially during the spring. Pines in general are especially noted for their sensitivity to roadside de-icing salts. When affected, pine needles may become pale green, yellow, or brown in late winter. If dying vegetation is on the side of the plants facing the road or driveway, the damage has likely been caused by salt spray. An accumulation of salt in the soil also makes it difficult for plant roots to absorb water. Excess sodium affects soil structure and may result in poor water infiltration and increased erosion. The sodium ions can displace essential plant nutrients, decreasing soil fertility. And salt accumulation in the soil will also inhibit seed germination of grasses and wildflowers. The level of damage varies depending on the concentration of salts in the water running onto your plants, the amount of snowfall, the timing of rains that may help wash off the foliage, the type of soil, and the condition of the plants. Healthy, mature plants that are not drought-stressed will withstand salts better than newly established young plants. So that's a little bit on de-icing salts and the problems that it can cause on plants if you tend to over-apply.
Well, it'd be a good idea for you to maybe pick up a bag or a bucket to have on hand and just kind of be mindful that when you are applying it, don't over-apply an overabundance amount of it. And because you can always go back and put out a little bit more later on.
That's right. That's right.
Out, you sure can. We are live in the studio today, 336-599-0266. If you've got a question for Mr. Carl Cantalupi of the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service, it'd be a great opportunity for you to call him. Of course, now we do realize it's that time of the year to where there's not a lot going on in the landscape, nothing really going on in the garden. You can maybe be planning and preparing for some of the things that you want to get done. Carl had made mention last week that the soil sample turnaround time was about 7 weeks.
It's still around the same time now.
So just kind of be patient. Still got plenty of time. If you have sent soil samples off to the Department of Agriculture for their test to be done, and they have not replied back with the results yet, just be patient because they've got a huge amount ahead of them. But still got plenty of time, although you can, spread lime any time of the year. But just give it a few more weeks, and maybe you can get that information, and when the time is ready, you'll have the information that you need to get the 2015 growing season off to a good start.
Right. Let's see. Do we need to break?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get a word on for Our Pride Foods, makers of Our Pride Premium Pimento Cheese Spread and Dip. If you're having gatherings in your home over the holidays, this would be a great item to have. They have both the premium pimento cheese spread and dip, and they also have the jalapeno added for extra flavor. Let's take a trip down to Our Pride Foods. Our Pride Foods, makers of Our Pride Premium Pimento Cheese Spread and Dip, is made in Roxborough. Whether you're having a family gathering or would just like a snack for yourself, be sure to keep plenty of Our Pride Premium Pimento Cheese Spread and Dip on hand. Goodness grows in North Carolina. Our Pride Foods, makers of Our Pride Premium Pimento Cheese, is available at T.G. Brooks Company, Hurdle Mills Market and Butcher Shop, North Main IGA, Twins Meat Market, Just Save, and Food Line stores. Also, if you're in Uptown Roxborough and get the hankering for some Our Pride Premium Pimento Cheese, you can enjoy it at Cole's Pharmacy and Triss's Espresso. That's Our Pride Foods, makers of Our Pride Premium Pimento Cheese spread and dip. Try the jalapeno added for extra flavor. Goodness grows in North Carolina, and Our Pride Foods, makers of Our Pride Premium Pimento Cheese spread and dip, is located in Roxborough. Here we are back on the Gardener's Corner program, brought to you today by Our Pride Foods, makers of Our Pride Premium Pimento Cheese spread and dip, T.G. Brooks Company, and South Boston Memorials. Carl, as you said a few minutes ago, this time of the year, you never know what the weather may be. Mm-hmm. But I want to say this. They need to leave the pruning shears in the storage shed.
Right, and people always say, well, I prune whenever the knife is sharp. and really you don't want to do that with plants. But people tend to prune too early. I guess they have nothing else to do and they want to go out and they see something that needs to be pruned. They'll go ahead and prune it, and then they have to look at those stubs all winter long. It's much better to wait until the spring to do your major pruning, especially on the plants that grow very rapidly in the spring, like I'm trying. Here comes a senior moment. Hollies, compact hollies, and other plants that respond very well to what we call rejuvenation pruning. If you want to really cut them back hard, they'll respond with good growth. Again, the hollies, and another good time to prune back plants severely are the ones that flower on last year's wood. Azaleas, camellias, rhododendrons, forsythia, which I'm trying to think of the common name, yellow bells. They all produce flowers on one-year-old wood, so the time to prune those is right after they finish flowering. If you get out there now and prune those plants, you won't have any flowers this year. So you kind of have to understand the flowering habits, the bearing habits of the particular plants that you want to prune. Now, there are always exceptions to the rule. Trees such as elms, birches, and maples, and we can put dogwoods in that category too. These are what we call the bleeders. And if you prune these trees in early spring, the sap is going to have a tendency to run. So actually, with elms, birches, maples, and dogwoods, if you wanted to prune those now, you can go ahead, because then the sap won't drip. So these plants can be pruned at this time, but wait until the majority of the pruning, wait until late February, early March, with the exception of the ones that bloom on last year's wood. So things like butterfly bush, crepe myrtles, they bear the flowers on the brand new growth. So you can take those down very, very severely, and you don't have to worry because when the plant regrows, it'll flower on the brand new growth. So we also have a publication at the Extension Office on pruning ornamental plants. That is free for the asking.
Do you need some more to call?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Give us a call, 599-1195, and we'll be happy to send out that publication to you either by U.S. mail or by email.
Okay. Carl, Sunday is actually the first day of winter.
Okay.
And, it maybe would be a good time for you to start looking at a list of supplies that you would maybe need if you wanted to start some indoor seeding. And the things that you need for indoor seeding if you go to a local hardware store, wouldn't be overwhelmingly expensive, but you got a little bit of time to where if you kind of had a material list of what you need, over the next couple of months, you could kind of be mindful of that, and you may come across this here and that there.
That's right.
And before you know it, you may not have a lot of money tied up in to the supplies that you need to start seeding inside.
Right, and we have a good publication for people that are just raring to go, that want to plant vegetable seeds and flower seeds. The thing to remember is not to get started too early, because then what happens is that you have tall, leggy plants that will not be suitable to be set outside in the garden, and so you really need to know the proper dates to sow seeds indoors. And at the Extension Office, we have a publication called Starting Plants from Seeds, as you see on the TV screen here. And it goes over a lot of good things. It starts out with the selecting seeds for planting, the containers that you need for sowing seeds, whether it be, you can use wood flats, fiber trays, plastic trays, clay and plastic pots, peat moss pots, and compressed peat moss pellets. These are all good to start seeds in. Then it also talks about the soil media that you need to use. And remember, we don't want to use soil from outside to start seeds in, because they contain fungi that can cause fungus diseases and actually kill off our tender seedlings as they start to grow. Soil is also very heavy, especially if it's a clay soil. It holds water for a long time, and this can also cause root rot. So you don't want to use soil from outside. What do you want to use? Well, we want to use different, what we call soil amendments. Vermiculite is a material that is ground volcanic ash that is added to a mix to keep it light and helps it drain well. We also use perlite. I'm sorry, I've got the two mixed up. Vermiculite is expanded mica. Mica is a rock that's heated in the oven, and when it's heated, it pops into a blocky shape, and this aids in water retention. That's vermiculite. Perlite is a white material. It's ground volcanic ash, and it's also inert and sterile. And then we use other things that are added to what we call a peat-lite mix. Includes sphagnum peat moss, and usually perlite, vermiculite, and sphagnum peat are added in a mixture, and you can buy them already made, and that's actually what it's called, a peat-lite mix. And so that's what you should use to start seeds in. The other thing that this publication covers is how to plant the seed, but probably the most important part in the publication is the guide to sowing vegetable seeds in the home and the guide to sowing common annual flower seeds in the home. When we ask people what is the frost-free planting date here in our area, most people say April 15th. But actually, April 15th or April 20th is the mean frost-free date, meaning that we still have a chance, a 50% chance of frost on April 15th. So we don't want to set tender plants outside until the first week of May. That's when the chance of frost drops to about 5%. But anyway, in this publication, we use a day of May the 1st to be our frost-free date, and then we back up from May 1st. So if we want to start, say, the cool season vegetables like broccoli, cabbage, and cauliflower, we'll start those from seed indoors on February the 1st. If we're wanting to start tomatoes, peppers, and eggplant from seed, we really don't want to start the seed indoors until March 15th. Because it takes 6 to 8 weeks to produce a good-sized transplant. So from March 15th, April 15th, May 15th. And May 15th would be excellent time to set out the tomatoes. Transplants, you can actually start it early May if you wanted to. But these are the dates that the publications will explain. On the other hand, if you want to sow flower seeds, these take a longer time to grow indoors. So really, one of the earliest dates that you can seed flower seed, such as begonia, pansy, and viola, you can start those seeds on January the 20th. If you want to grow lobelia or stocks, February 5th. Black-eyed Susans, impatiens, February 12th. Petunias, February 19th. And then you have other flowers that go from March the 11th to April the 1st. So with flowers, you need a longer time because flower seeds need anywhere from 4 weeks to 14 weeks to grow and produce a good size transplant. And flower seeds are just like dust. They're very, very small, and sometimes people have a hard time sowing them because you really don't want to cover them with much soil, with much of the planting mix at all. And so most people will actually buy their annual bedding plants, from a garden center. But if you want to try from seed, you can. Probably some ones that'll do quite well for you would be something like marigold. It takes about 6 weeks to produce a good marigold transplant, so you'd want to start those seeds around March the 18th. Other things that this publication goes over is temperature, moisture, and light. We want good light when we grow, when we start seeds indoors. We use a cool white fluorescent light bulb fixture that is suspended no further away than about 3 inches from the plant. When we start the seeds, we want the light bulb fixture just sitting on top of that flat, because most of the light intensity is right around the bulb. So the longer you place the fluorescent light bulb away from whatever you're growing, the more that light intensity drops off. So you've got to have those fixtures right on top of the plants, just short of touching the leaves. If they touch the leaf, that's okay. The cool white fluorescent bulb is not going to burn the plants. So we want to have good light. We want to have good temperature indoors, 60 to 65 degrees. We want to keep tabs on the watering, make sure that we water and we let the water drain out through the bottom. And this publication also talks about fertilization as well. So it's a pretty concise publication, and it will answer most of your questions when you want to start plants from seed indoors, what you need to do.
And it is free and available from the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service. You can call the Person County office, 336-599-1195, the Granville County office, 919-603-1350.
Right.
And I'm sure we've got some listeners in Orange County. I'm not sure the Cooperative Extension Service office there. And to our listeners in Durham County, you can just call your local office, and they can either email it to you or they can U.S. mail it to you. But they've got a lot of different publications that will help you out with whatever goal it may be that you are wanting to achieve.
Right.
Carl, a lot of people 1 week from today and maybe on the weekend after Christmas may start taking down Christmas trees. Any ideas to offer our listeners on maybe what they could do with their, old Christmas tree?
Right. Well, first off, if you're buying a cut tree from a lot, you should only expect to keep the tree indoors for about 2 weeks. That's about it. Then the tree will start to drop needles, so you really don't want it to be in the house for longer than a couple of weeks to maintain it in good condition, especially when you're keeping an eye on the water in the stand tray. But after the season, I don't know if Roxborough comes and collects the trees or not in the as part of the trash program.
I don't think that they offer a tree collection program Uh, but if you could just drag it down in the woods to just kind of let it
Yeah, you can
rot
do that.
and decay,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe if you have a farm pond,
Mm-hmm.
would make an excellent habitat for fish.
That's right.
You have some way to weight it down.
Mhm.
The other thing is if maybe you've got a like a pile of brush and things like that, you could maybe just put it, there in that pile and just, over the next few years or so, it would maybe decay, and you could maybe incorporate some of that into your compost mixture. But
Right.
it's a lot of different things and a lot of different ways to dispose of your old Christmas trees. But a lot of people, for over the years have, believed in, the fresh cut trees. And I know some people buy the ball and burlap trees.
Right.
And, if you're lucky, if you do have the ball and burlap tree, when you more or less plant the tree in your own landscape, depending on the weather, but it can be quite a shock from taking a tree from the inside of a warm home and putting it right out into the cold. So if you have maybe like a garage, maybe if you could, after you take the tree out of your home, put it in the garage,
Yeah.
for a little time, and then out of the garage, into the landscape when you plant it, it may increase the chances of survival a little better.
That's right. And you want to. That's a good tip, Rob. And if you do that, if you plant it outside, make sure that the soil has moisture. After you plant it, make sure you give it plenty of water so that the roots can take off, and you'll have minimal injury because you don't want that root ball to dry out. So some people do it and have had good successes with live trees.
Okay. Hey, we've got another sponsor that we have not heard from today. It's South Boston Memorials. They're located in South Boston, Virginia. They are the fourth family-owned generation of memorialists over there at South Boston Memorials. Let's take a trip in and stop in and see them at South Boston Memorials.
South Boston Memorials, located 1439 Seymour Drive in South Boston, Virginia. They offer granite markers, monuments, and mausoleums. For more information, visit the website SoboMemorials.com or call 434-572-3859. South Boston Memorials have been in business and family-owned since 1958. In-house laser etching is available at South Boston Memorials. They have over 300 granite memorials in stock. For all of your granite markers, monuments, and mausoleums, stop in and see them right there at South Boston Memorials, located 1439 Seymour Drive in South Boston, Virginia, or call them at 434-572-3859 and visit the website SoboMemorials.com. That's South Boston Memorials, located 1439 Seymour Drive in South Boston.
Hey, I want to mention one more time, the food pantry of Roxborough will be open Saturday morning at 10 a.m. They've got a lot of different items available. The food pantry is located on Franklin Street. That's just off of Hill Street and Main Circle. Again, the food pantry is located on Franklin Street. They will be open Saturday morning at 10 a.m. and that will be Saturday, December the 20th. So anyway, head on by the food pantry. Got a lot of different items that are available to anybody that shows up. Call right here in the week leading up to Christmas. Do you have any plans to hang around the mistletoe?
Yeah, I can, but I'm certainly not going to eat mistletoe. And that's a good lead into the next topic here. And I'm sure everybody recognizes mistletoe in the tree. But the thing to remember about mistletoe, it's unlike the poinsettia plant. A poinsettia plant is not toxic. even though rumors persist to this day telling people that the poinsettia is toxic. It's not. But mistletoe is very toxic. So this is a picture of what mistletoe looks like in the tree. A lot of times you have open wounds in trees, or if the tree is starting to rot, birds drop the seeds in cracks and crevices, and the mistletoe grows. Mistletoe is a parasitic seed plant, and by that we mean it gets its nutrients from the tree. And as long as the tree is surviving and provides moisture to the mistletoe does fine. But this is a picture of mistletoe that shows the white berries, and all parts of this plant are toxic. The leaves, the berries, the seeds. So just be very careful. You definitely do not want to have this plant around children because it is very, very toxic. So,
And if anybody offers you mistletoe tea over the holidays, decline.
that's right. So remember that about the mistletoe. Another point to keep in mind, especially if for some reason we don't get a lot of rain and the soil turns dry in the landscape, make sure that your trees and shrubs are adequately watered. Otherwise, they will dry out and can cause root injury, root death, and dieback. And you spend a lot of money on landscape trees and shrubs in your landscape, but a lot of times people don't pay attention in making sure that they get watered, especially during the winter. Many people are more particular on their lawns. Well, if the lawn dies, there's not much expense to redoing it as compared with the cost of trees and shrubs. So make sure that the plants are adequately watered, because water in a plant's root system is like antifreeze in a car. That keeps the plant alive. So even though the top isn't growing during the winter, the root system still is growing. So make sure that you do have plenty of water. Use the screwdriver test. Poke a long handle screwdriver into the soil until it becomes hard to push. Then pull it up, and you can see how deep the soil is wetted. So if your soil is wet down to at least 6 to 8 inches, you're pretty good as far as plant survivability.
So even though it may not look like it's a lot going on in the landscape, you do need to, take care of your, trees and shrubbery and things that you spend a lot of hard-earned money on to ensure their survival over the winter months.
That's right.
Well, Carl, we've got just about maybe 2 or 3 minutes left.
Okay.
Is it anything that you would like to make mention of in the last segment of the show?
Just to go over a couple of things that we went over before. Use ice melting materials very sparingly on your sidewalks. Just use enough that it does the job and it melts the ice and snow. Don't use too much, because if you use too much, it can really break up concrete. It can also leach out into the soil and cause plant problems next year. It can kill roots, and the salt spray can damage leaves as well. I saw a sidewalk last year that I didn't realize how it was in bad shape. I didn't realize it before the winter, but one person really went to town on the salt, and it caused major damage on the surface of the steps, so much so that they had to grind off the surface and then re-cement it.
Wow.
So you don't want that to happen, because the materials, especially rock salt, sodium chloride, can do this. You might want to try some of the other materials like the calcium magnesium acetate that has acetic acid in it, the same ingredient in vinegar, and it's a lot less harmful on concrete surfaces. So.
Also, it'd be a good time for you to contact the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service and request any of the readily available information that they have pertaining to vegetable gardens.
Right.
To more or less starting a compost pile, how to construct your own greenhouse.
Right.
And you could be studying these things, over the winter months.
As the snow flies.
As the snow flies, that's right. One other thing would like to make mention to our fans of the Gardener's Corner program. On behalf of Mr. Carl Cantalupi and myself, we very much appreciate you all
Yes,
for
we do.
tuning in on a weekly basis. We appreciate our callers. And we want to wish each and every one of you all the very best Merry Christmas you've ever had.
Same from
And-
myself.
And we want to wish you a Happy New Year. We've, of course, chuckle at ourselves sometimes about the way things turn out, but we are here to try to help you all out in any shape, form, or fashion that we can.
That's right.
And I must say, if it wasn't for the knowledge of Carl Cantalupi,
Well-
there wouldn't be any need for me to be here.
Well, it's the state. I give thanks to the station too for allowing us to have the show.
Oh,
So
yes,
that's
because
really good.
I think we have helped out a lot of people over time, and we certainly hope to continue to do that
That's right.
in 2015. But again, I want to wish you and your family a Merry Christmas and
And a happy New Year.
a Happy New Year. So that's going to do it for the Gardener's Corner program today. Brought to you by Owl Pride Foods, makers of Owl Pride Premium Pimento Cheese Spread and Dip, T.G. Brooks Company, and South Boston Memorials. A big old extra big thanks to Carl Cantalupi of the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service
Thank you, Rob.
for coming out and sharing his knowledge with us here on the Gardener's Corner program. God bless, folks. Have a wonderful and safe week. And again, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.